Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
Local news, politics, business, sports, arts, music. Mike and Marty on the beat. Mike and Marty. Mike and Marty.
Morning, Bellows Falls and Keene, and welcome to the feed with Mike and Marty. We're here with Mark Coate today. We're going to be talking about his pharmacy and opening up an independent pharmacy in a small town in New England and the challenges of that. And first we have to, before we continue, I want to let everyone know that this show is broadcast live from Fact TV studios in Bellows Falls. Fact TV is a community access center that provides studio space and production services free of charge to community members in Southern Vermont and Keene. If you're interested in creating your own show, already producing content and wish to submit it, or want to stay informed about news and events in Southern Vermont and Keene, including live coverage of local town meetings, sporting events, and community events, visit fact8.com.
So local events, lots of stuff this week. So the Bellows Falls Opera House, running from the 16th through the 20th, is Twisters, which I think is a remake of an old movie, right?
Yeah, it's
The old one was Dennis Quaid.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Helen Hunt, I think.
yeah.
I'm kind of a movie buff.
There we go. Awesome. Then we can talk. Well, wait till the next one. So the classic movie this week is the same summer. I think Bill sponsors this every summer. Is Grease, because Grease is the word. And that's sponsored by Edward Jones, Bill Stevens. And I was just a quick aside, because you probably have. I never knew there was a conspiracy theory around Grease that it was a dream sequence, that Sandy actually dies. Remember in the beginning when he saves her from drowning? And that she actually dies, and then he's dreaming this whole thing.
I love conspiracy theories, but I haven't heard that one.
I saw it on Facebook, so it must be true.
Oh, it has
Must
to
be
be
true.
Okay,
It
has
was
to
on
be
the
true.
internet, yeah.
Because there's
It's
no
on the
such thing as
internet.
fake news, right?
Exactly. There's no such thing as fake news. Anyway, that's a total aside. So Farmers Market, Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Hetty Green. They've been getting some pretty good food vendors. Just going to let you know. I think they have a different vendor coming this week. I don't remember the name, so I don't want to get in trouble. But I did see something on Facebook that they have yet another food vendor coming. So lots of vegetables are coming up now.
Yeah,
So the vendors are full with that type stuff. So 4 to 7 p.m. at the Hetty Green. Plenty of parking, easy access. This evening, so if you play your cards right this week, you don't have to cook. So this evening, you can go down to the Edward Jones office. There is a Chamber of Commerce mixer being hosted by Bill Stevens. So you can go, you can meet people, there'll be food. I think usually the Chamber does a door prize. You don't have to be a Chamber member to attend. And if you have questions about, wills and financial planning and what to do with your IRA or things like that, you can talk to Bill about that. And then tomorrow night at Popolo, M&T Bank is hosting what they're calling Southern Vermont Sip and Share. So that is from 5 to 7. So see, there's another night you don't have to cook. You can just go. You can go to Edward Jones one night, then Sip and Share, and then the Farmers Market on Friday. And then next week on Friday, the 23rd, the Women's Club is doing, I think it's their second annual. I think last year was the first year they did it. They're doing their pasta dinner at the United Church. And if you've ever been to any event that the Women's Club have anything to do with, you know that you're going to get amazing food. They're doing hot and cold pasta. They're doing salad. They're doing homemade focaccia, homemade desserts. And all of the money benefits the scholarship fund, and they give away at least one scholarship to the local high school students. Adult tickets are $15. Children 6 to 12 are $8, and children under 6 years old are free. So that is it for local events. Mark, welcome. Thank you for coming, and thank you for reopening and now becoming Fall Mountain Pharmacy and coming back into town.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and she and I were really excited to reopen the store, and albeit under another name. We've got a good crew, and we're ready to serve the community.
So how did you end up here anyway? Going back in time, when you opened up the pharmacy the first time, how did you end up in, because you're not local, right?
Well, Gene and I moved to Chester when I think I was 32. And
So just a couple years ago?
yeah. I actually just had a birthday. I'm not saying how old I am. And we bought the Chester Drugstore. I don't know if you guys remember the Chester Drugstore at all.
Yeah.
I do, actually. It was right
yeah.
on Main Street. Yeah.
Right on the
Yeah.
green. Yeah. It was the Masonic Temple first when you turned onto the green, and then the Chester Drugstore building. And I did that until 2000. Well, I don't know exactly when the concept of opening one in Bellows Falls came. The Brooks had moved into the what was the grocery store?
IGA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Into the-
Buffums. It was Buffums.
Buffums,
Buffums, yeah.
And we looked into getting the building, and we opened Greater Falls Pharmacy. We were originally, I was originally from New Hampshire, and Gina was originally from Connecticut, and we met at the University of New Hampshire.
Nice.
So, and then I went to pharmacy school after the University of New Hampshire. Yeah, so that's how we got there. And then, unfortunately, I did have to close Chester Drugstore in the beginning, but it was well worth it because Greater Falls took off after that, and we did. I thought we did really well up until when I sold, and then we won't talk about
No,
that tragic.
no, we'll just talk about positive.
Positive.
So you're back.
Yeah. So I'm
You're
back.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back, and it's getting busy. People are transferring every day.
And so someone just super quick, here's where we go off script. If someone wants to transfer, what do they have to do? Just call and say?
Just call. Yeah, just call and say. I mean, if they're people that like to do things themselves, they can just call their doctor and say, I want all my prescriptions transferred to Fall Mountain Pharmacy, and they should just give us a call to let us know when if they need anything right away. But otherwise, we have forms at the store that they can either fill out, or they can just call and give us their name and their information, and we'll take care of the rest.
And it's 802-428-4023?
That's correct. Yep. And we'll transfer them if they've got refills left at other pharmacies.
So the advantage of having a local person be the pharmacist is it's you guys do a lot of the work that people may not be willing to do now.
Well, I had never really worked for a long time in a chain, but during the period when I wasn't an owner, I worked for a friend of mine in Brattleboro, and then he closed, and I went to Rite Aid. So I got kind of a really good inside look at how the chains operate. And unfortunately, if I'm going to be transparent, I have to say I understand why they're dysfunctional.
Well, I think that's not a,
Yeah,
I think
you're
that's-
nothing new.
You're talking about a former owner who, gave his heart and soul to try to make people happy and loving the service and
right.
appreciating the service. And I found myself actually caving into the pressure of a busy store with corporate not really supporting the people doing the work. And the people were great. I actually nicked 3 or 4 employees from the Rite Aid I worked at from my store. So the people were great. It was just that we literally did not answer the phone sometimes because we couldn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were all so tied up doing what we're doing. You can't be in the middle of dealing with a patient and then say, "Oh, hold on,
hold
one
on,
minute."
but
And
yeah.
it wouldn't have been just once. It would have been 35 times. And the patient
So,
would have been
yeah,
like, well,
it
what about
seemed-
me? I'm right here.
The pharmacy business has really changed over the years,
It
hasn't
has,
it?
yeah,
Especially because growing up and I was really, I can remember when I would be sick and a doctor would do a house call and come to my house and write out a prescription, and my parents would take the prescription to the drugstore and they would immediately get the medications, and the relationship was really between the pharmacist and the patient.
I like to say it was much more of a triangle, and I'll touch on this when I talk about compounding in a little bit. But it back then, and I can't tell you exactly when, but probably up until the early '90s or so, there was a triad relationship. It really was patient, physician, pharmacist, or pharmacy, and then. I think medicine in this country has gotten exploited a little bit.
Oh,
My wife's single line to explain the whole thing is healthcare should not be for profit.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean that nurses and doctors and physical therapists and occupational therapists and pharmacists don't make any money. I think a lot of times people get a misconstrued idea that if it's nonprofit, nobody makes any money.
Exactly.
And that's not true. Everybody still makes their salary. If I be maybe so bold, typically there's not somebody making, over 10 million or
Yeah,
$20 million
right.
a year.
Yeah.
And I'll leave that there, maybe for another time.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole other show, yeah. So I think the changes mainly resulted in, I think there was a shift somewhere where the drug companies made a decision to market heavier to maybe help encourage patients to believe that they need
Right.
more
Oh, yeah.
medication. And you know, in a medical in a medical discussion or a medical lecture, you're never going to get a practitioner up there to say there's any silver bullets. But I think in the marketing, the pharmaceutical companies
Oh,
yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
promoting.
And I think that goes back
Silver
to
bullet.
almost the, I don't remember, it was maybe in the late 90s, early 2000s when they started pain
marketing on
medication and managing pain.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was really amazing.
Yeah.
how-
Well, there are some companies still paying the price for that.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
As a matter of fact, I didn't hear it from anybody reliable. It just was rumor mill. But Rite Aid declaring bankruptcy had a big part to do with the fines that they were
Oh, really?
given
Having-
for their
Involvement in
participation in the
In
opioid
that.
crisis.
Yeah.
Which, and it's a sad thing, but the one thing I will say about the whole opioid crisis is, all of the medical professionals that could be involved, and whether you're dispensing, whether you're prescribing, we're kind of like stuck in the middle in the
Yeah,
beginning
yeah.
because in the end, the patient, does have some responsibility.
Yeah, oh,
You know what I
certainly.
mean? I think that Purdue Frederick and can I plug a movie? Am I allowed to plug a movie?
If you could,
Yeah. So the movie with Matthew Broderick about the Purdue family and the opioid crisis is excellent, and it did a good job, I felt, in portraying what happened. I'm not going to be able to give you the name.
I was gonna say, what's the name?
I just told you I had a birthday. Just
Yes,
specifically
okay.
saying,
So there we go.
I can't
No-
think of the name.
Don't just say anymore.
But it explains it really well, and from my perspective, and this is just an opinion, I do think that the share of the responsibility should have been on them. Their marketing was wrong. They claimed it was non-addictive for years before they eventually finally had to say it was in terms of the settlement they
Right,
reached.
right.
So, yeah.
But it created this business model of you market, and what you're talking about the triangle. It introduces several parties into that mix where now you watch TV and it's like, go tell your doctor you need this drug.
Right.
Well, that's the difference. Is the shift between the doctor, looking at your symptoms and saying this would help you. Again, not silver bullet, but it would help you with your symptoms. And a person being like, I have those symptoms. I know I need that.
Yeah.
Well, and I never thought I'd see an advertisement for a prescription drug on TV. And I
Oh my
know
God, you
physicians
can't get away from them.
You can't get away from them now, and physicians were against them from the get-go. I mean, and I can understand that. I wouldn't want to be a prescriber and have all my patients calling me saying, I just saw this commercial, I need this medication. It's not, when medical professionals practice whatever specialty they're in, we do something called with guidance or with guidelines. So a physician does not include the patient saw a commercial in their guidelines.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
That might,
And then never mind the advertisement, but now we have the Google.
yeah.
You can self-diagnose. I do it all the time. I try to be prudent with it, but just because I'm curious, and then say, could it be this, and then have a discussion with my doctor. But yeah, people come in. The Google says.
Google
I like to say
said,
the
yeah.
Google.
Well,
Google says.
I was really naive when they started targeting things based on your searches. I didn't know that was a thing. I said to my kids one day, my sons Jeff and Nick, I said, God, I swear, Google knows that I'm interested in buying this thing, and they just both they said, okay, Dad, you're not that old. Come on. Yeah, of course they do, Dad.
It's true.
So,
So one thing that we were talking a little bit before the show started. One thing that I would have loved at the time that I was helping my dad when he was sick in the end was some of the things that you're doing now with now that you can get the package, the pre-packaged. Can you talk a little bit about
Yeah, sure.
the blister packs and
Yeah,
and the-
so we have, we call it compliance packing. A more layperson term in the community is bubble packing or blister packing. And we offer that service to pretty much anybody that has the need for having their medications organized by time of day. And we do them in 28-day increments. And we have nothing against the full month. It's just that by doing it 28-day increments, you're always due on the same day. And that makes it so much
100%
easier.
sense. I was going to ask you why. I was like,
Yeah, and I still get some practitioners that insist on writing 30 days worth, even after saying to them, well, I wouldn't have to come in on a Sunday if you did 28 days, because you're not open on Sunday most of the time. Then if you did it during the week, it'd always be on a Monday through Friday. But so we package those, and currently there's no fee for that. I have to see how this insurance ride goes this time around. That's the one thing that's changed drastically since I owned Greater Falls Pharmacy, and that is that the insurances have gotten very aggressive with their reimbursements.
Aggressive in that you're not getting as much. You're
I'm
getting
getting
like
reimbursed
pennies.
below cost in some cases, which
Yeah.
is just despicable in my opinion. But that's not positive either. So we'll
We won't go there. We won't go.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother discussion too.
But we have a solution for that too, which this is another service that it doesn't really tie in with the bubble packing. Although I guess, we could still bubble pack for somebody and not fill something due to a prescription that we lost money on, and we will contact a mail order for the patient. There is paperwork that they have to do to give us permission to do so. But the nice part about it is, most people hate calling the mail order place.
Oh, yeah.
And hate renewing their order. If they forget, the mail order place doesn't give them any leeway in terms of them being out of medication. Typically, the mail order place will say, go to your local pharmacy and we'll send a few days worth there, which the local pharmacy's not really pleased about that either, because we're not the ones that dropped the ball, the mail order place did. So we'll contact them, and then we keep track. So after the first fill, we would know when they need the medication next, and we would put in a refill order for.
So you're
medication.
acting like a manager then, right? Or
Yeah,
a care
kind of like a
manager?
caregiver.
Yeah,
something like that,
caregiver,
yeah.
Which is good.
And not to and being a caregiver for somebody doesn't have to be based on patient competency. This is just, people want the service of a local pharmacy.
Sure.
And this is a way for us
No, I think
to
it's wonderful.
fill the prescriptions we can fill, but not have to risk losing our business because we're filling things at a loss.
Yeah.
And there is, the state of Vermont did recently file a lawsuit against two big pharmacy benefit managers, and that's what the PBM acronym stands for. A lot of people don't know what PBM stands for, but that's what it stands for, is Pharmacy Benefit Management. And it's under the Consumer Protection Act, so that hopefully will make some changes.
So when did PBMs come about?
Well, I got out of school in '88, and I interned with a guy that had an independent for 8 weeks, and they were more plan administrators than anything. They got a little fee for organizing the patient database, issuing ID numbers, issuing cards, things like that. They really had nothing to do with the pricing or distribution of drugs, and I'm not even sure how big mail order was back then. And they did control the price in the way that it was the payer, the ultimate payer, so that'd be the employer, that designed the plan or the pricing. And again, I guess you could describe it like that was kind of a triad too, because they provided a help desk. So you had the pharmacist, you had the payer, and you had the I don't even know if we call them PBMs, but we'll say PBMs. But then with all that information they were gathering, they realized how valuable that resource was. And they started designing their contracts so that they could use that information. And it just snowballed into the point now where all the big ones, Optum, Caremark, Express Scripts, they're completely controlling
The price.
the pricing, distribution, and pharmaceutical companies, if they don't play ball with what the PBMs call manufacturer fees, they don't get their drug on their formulary in a preferred tier.
So I don't know if this is an example of that, but I remember, you remember Gary Illingsworth when he was in town? So
Yep.
Gary'd been in town forever,
Yep.
and I went to pick up a prescription one time, and it had jumped from like $30 to $60. And I said, why is this so expensive? And he said, he goes, I'll tell you, when I started out as a pharmacist, that exact same thing that I just gave you was $6.
Yeah. Wow. Exactly.
So it's not like it was a drug that wasn't like it was new on the market. And I know technically when it's new on the market, they tell you that you're paying for the research that brought that about. But this was not something that was new on the market. It had been new on the market in the 70s.
Yeah.
And I was too little then for that. But that was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
That it's the same exact thing. Why is it so much more expensive? Like ridiculously more
Well,
expensive.
and there have been people aren't entities aren't doing it as much anymore, but years ago there was a drug that it was an individual within a company that he owned that raised the price of something that had a new use. It was pretty much an obsolete drug. I forget the name of it and what it was used for, and I apologize for that. But it basically was like $100 for 100 pills or something. Maybe that was at the pharmacy cost, and he raised it to like $15,000 or something. Like, I mean, some unbelievable amount because a new indication
That you could use it for something else.
and,
Sort of like
and it
Ozempic
wasn't,
is now
it
being
wasn't
used for-
a benign or even you can live with an illness. It was an illness that people
Yeah.
want something for.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
like it was could be deadly.
So we are down to about 3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So let's start talking a little bit about your grand opening.
Yeah. So we're having a grand opening on August 21st. From noon to, I got that day right.
You did?
Yeah. See? I'm not that old. August 21st, from noon to 4, and we're gonna have hot dogs and hamburgers and food. Coda and Coda was kind enough to let us use their grill, and we want as many people in the community that can make it that day to make it. People from businesses, doctors' offices, the general community. Come on by. We'll have beverages, no alcoholic ones, unfortunately. Yeah, and then just some other real quick.
Yeah.
We're also going to be compounding medications, which I'll give a real quick and probably not enough information to answer. But compounding is basically if for whatever reason a patient can't take a commercially available medication or there isn't a commercially available medication, and that would include things like back orders, unavailability, we're allowed to make the medication. We have access to the chemicals and what we call bases or capsules or whatever, and we can make different forms. So we'll be doing that, and I've actually just got a few more steps to become accredited, and that's a new thing. I compounded for years when I had Greater Falls Pharmacy with no accreditation, and I never hurt anybody. And I thought my product was really, really good, but the powers that be decided that we were doing.
Well, wasn't there an
something
issue
wrong.
though? Wasn't there a lawsuit somewhere around
was-
here with
yeah,
a
there was a-
compounding pharmacy that something?
Yeah, there was a compounding pharmacy in Massachusetts.
Okay.
They did sterile compounding though, so there's a big difference. I'm going to be doing the kind of compounding that is non-sterile. So it's like capsules, topical products, things that really, if made inappropriately, wouldn't be life-threatening. This pharmacy was making sterile compounding, and they not only were making sterile compounding, but they were making things that were being injected into the neck and the spine. And so the people that were affected by that, a lot of them died, got spinal infections. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think we're just about out of time, but I would like to invite you back because I think we just scratched
Yeah,
the
I think you
surface
should
on
too,
this.
because I don't think I got to talk enough about my services.
I know that's what happens. We go off on
Well,
tangents.
I would
We go off
formally
on
invite you
tangents.
back then. We'll make a time as
Yeah,
soon as.
it was fun. I was a little nervous when I knew Marty was going to be here.
I know we're high pressure,
Just
aren't we?
joking.
Yeah, we're high pressure. We're high pressure.
Well, but she's got you in that gym.
I know. Well,
yeah,
I know.
that's
You should work, you know?
That's been in my past now.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm much more mellow.
Okay, well, thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
and
you.
we're going to schedule Mark to
Yeah.
come back, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, we can fill in some of those holes you said you had.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Bye, community.
Bye.
Local news, politics,